Hello and a very warm welcome from ET Studios, ETHRWorld and Coursera. I'm Divina Lasson, and today we're here to deep dive into the fascinating topic of how generative AI is ushering in a new era of personalized and interactive learning at scale. Now, in an era where enterprises are constantly expanding, the question for skilling has become paramount, leaving business leaders constantly contemplating the next steps. Our expert panelists today will help us to decode the future of learning, unraveling the exciting opportunities that it holds. Joining me today are our very esteemed guests, Pushkar Kelkar, Regional Director for Enterprise Business Coursera, Dr. Yogita Patra, L&D Lead, DS Group, Smriti Malhotra, Global HRD Head, Deneve, and Dipali Jetli, CPO, Marengo Asia Hospitals. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here on ET Studios and ETHRWorld. So thank you for coming. We're here to talk about a very important, interesting, ever-dynamic topic, which is the role of generative AI when it comes to learning and how really personalized experiences, customized experiences, enhanced interactivity is what we're seeing. And you're absolute industry experts here today to give us your insights and your future view on how this will all pan out. So let's kickstart right away. Pushkar, let's start with you. You know, we live in an era again where everything is changing at such a rapid pace. Hybrid work environments, the business environment at large constantly evolving, expectations of people when it comes to skilling and the kind of skills that are being sought after today. So how would you say generative AI is playing a role in all of this? And what do you see as the future of learning and skilling moving forward?
Right. Thank you so much. Firstly, glad to be here. I think it's a very relevant question, for us in the day and age today, because I think, learning, per se has transitioned from a benefit to the employees from the organization to kind of a, real enablement tool where, one could actually, see a career path and a growth trajectory for themselves, not just, for themselves, but also for the organization per se, on the kind of impact that it does. And when that happens, essentially, a lot of, minute details kind of, come into the picture as to, is it specific? Is it impactful? How does it, get done? And that's where I think technology per se comes into the picture, because to do this at scale, for the kind of number of employees that, all of you have in your organizations or even in the larger ecosystem in the corporate industry, I think technology is one of the enablers for you as learning development leaders and for us as the platform partners to kind of help, do this on the ground, right? Essentially, if you look at traditional learning, learning per se means that, is it meant for me? Is there someone there to help me? And how do I essentially kind of derive the most value out of it? So that's where Gen AI, as we see today, is playing a huge role. One, for the individual kind of learner, it's actually bringing a lot of customization and a kind of readily available coach or a learning partner for them to kind of progress into their learning programs. Second, for an organization, Gen AI is actually helping you build a lot of custom kind of capabilities for your set of learners across functions, across industries, right? Healthcare, manufacturing, and so on and so forth. So I think a few tools that we have available on the platform called as Coursera Builder helps an organization to kind of custom build programs to what you really want to achieve. And with the AI coach on the platform that we have today, it becomes a very personal and rewarding journey for the learner on the platform.
Yes, thanks for that, Pushkar. We're going to really deep dive into the various tools and the various options that exist. But before that, ladies, if we can get your input, Dr. Yogita, how have you seen learning evolving over the years?
So I think I'll start this conversation by saying that, Pushkar, you're already on my side because I think the debate between augmenting AI and eliminating AI is over now. You can't say that, it is going to just eat up jobs. It's here as a friend as well. And I think it's going to add a whole lot of value to the HR. Having said that, I think I'm saying that with great conviction, Pushkar, because we are the use case. We are the first movers. We started, we put a layer of AI on our LMS way back in 2021. And I can, share my experience with the group here that it has been of immense value. Of course, there were teething issues initially because we were, kind of charting in a very, very unknown area.
Sure.
But I think I would say with great conviction that it has helped the HR in cost cutting and the time cutting.
Wow.
So it has really helped us in, kind of saving a lot of time in terms of getting the right inputs into the system and aligning ourselves to the business outcomes.
Yes. Yes.
So I think we did that in 2021. 2 years of great experience working with AI, and I can say that it has given us a great ROI.
Yeah. We're going to find out a lot more about your deep experiences. Probably a first mover, actually, in industry. So we'll come right back to that.
Sure.
Smriti, what about you? Do you agree, Dr. Yogita's point of view?
Yeah, I guess I completely agree. The debate whether AI is a boon or a bane is long gone. We're all looking at the benefits that it brings on the table. And if you look at the learning also, it has evolved over the last few years and has taken a greater pace ever since COVID hit us.
Yes.
That is
Absolutely.
a complete game changer for the way we've been operating, be it training, learning, development, or any other phase in life. So yes, a generative AI is something, which is tapping the millennials and Gen Z in a much faster manner. This generation, and plus, there's some effort that goes to the earlier generations to bring them up to the pace of this change. It is basically for them, it has to be immediate. It has to be interesting. It has to be stimulating, right? And that is what AI generative learning solutions are providing.
Yes.
And with the skills, the way the skills are evolving, you look at the skills, what was, kind of relevant 3-4 years is becoming so fast redundant. The need to upscale the workforce at a greater pace is the top priority agenda in the organizations.
Absolutely.
And when you're talking about the skills, it can't be done manually. So generative AI has come and it has taken away a lot of challenges of the training, learning and development team and really bringing value add to the system.
Yes.
So that's what I feel.
Thank you again. I'm going to go much deep into that. Further, Dipali, your views?
Yeah, so for us in healthcare, it's been continuous learning, and continuous learning, it means that, there are certain mandatory trainings that needs to continuously happen. It needs to happen at the scale. It needs to happen at all across, there are those behavioral trainings, there are those patient experience trainings, there are those clinical trainings and separate set of clinical trainings for the doctors. So it's continuous education and learning for our people in healthcare. And that traditional conservative methods have actually been in the past, the classroom training sessions, that doesn't exist anymore. And now it's more about to bring about that right growth in the people, in the organization, and for people to really evolve themselves and, get on to the next levels. It's a holistic picture to the learning. And it's Gen AI which actually helps us to bring about this holistic picture on not just doing, one-way training, one-way parting the training, but actually knitting it all across.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what's really coming through, and as you pointed out so well, Smriti, is the need of the hour is for engagement, interactivity. You have to keep your workforce, of course, upskilled, but in a way that they expect as times are changing. So, Pushkar, how do you see the role of Gen AI in really helping to curate those not only personalized experiences, but also, highly interactive and engaging for the audiences?
And I'll just pick from what Smriti said about skills, right? Per se, long gone are the days where someone was hired through a JD, right? Essentially, and the KRAs, right? Today, what everyone's talking about, and if you see, you have to create a LinkedIn profile, you will have to show the skills that you are essentially good at and the skills that, essentially the job role demands. So I think, how do you then translate your learning from a job to a skill level? And that's where I think the Gen AI piece, comes together.
Yes.
Because, as leaders in the learning and development, framework, you are, important for the organization, to kind of share data, insights, into what learning and development programs actually mean and translate, right? And that's where, if the language of skills is used, that's where Gen AI, say on a platform like Coursera, can help bring a very personalized, curated learning program for a particular employee. And, I think what you mentioned, Dr. Yogita, even on our platform at Coursera, you could actually start by saying, these are the 3-4 skills and proficiencies that I'm good at. and these are the 3-4 skills that I need to learn, and hence the whole and we have something called a skill sets, which actually does it. It's an AI based kind of auto generated kind of content framework. So once you enter the skills, once you enter the proficiencies, AI and Gen AI actually help personalize the learning journey. And then as a learning and development leader, when you do this across 1,500, or 5,000 or 10,000 employees, you will be able to kind of, derive rich insights from the analytics dashboard that you get to be able to showcase to your management and your business leaders, right? Look, through the immersive technology experience, which is personalized and impactful and efficient, we are able to drive real skills transformation across our organizations. So moving someone from a basic intermediary skill to an advanced level skill. And that's where, again, technology plus the kind of content you have on the platform helps you do that. So, and we believe at Coursera, we cater to the whole, kind of portfolio of, just-in-time learning of about 10 minutes through the video clips that we have to a deep skill, professional certification that we have from, say, industries or universities such as IIM Ahmedabad, ISB, Hyderabad, and Google and Amazon, to be able to kind of showcase the skills narrative for your overall organization.
So I guess I'll pick up the word personalized from you, Pushkar. So my experience has been that, all my friends would agree here, that adoption has been a big challenge for the HR professionals. And how do you increase that adoption? How do you make individuals, wanting to say that I want to learn, this is my learning.
Yes.
So, and that is how it is going to be most effective. That can only happen if we really focus on the mode of learning also. It's not only the course or the content that has to be interesting. It is more interesting to understand how am I as a learner absorbing the content. So specifically saying that, I might be a, reading person. So if the AI can, if I'm selecting something which is in a read mode, a case or a summary, and the AI is understanding me as a person and then throwing up the similar kind of, I don't know who wants to, really hear this, the people who are really making these products need to hear this, that, it's important that we learn the method and the mode of delivery as well.
Yes.
So in case if I'm a reading person, you throw up more cases. If you think that I am more of a visual person, you're throwing up more video-based learning. So I think not only the content, but the method, the way it is being delivered is also very crucial.
So just to add up to that, I guess AI itself runs on the algorithms. And whatever my personal liking is, in case, I'm more intrigued by the videos or simulation-based learning, it will pick up the data, my reading history, or how I have been utilizing the platform, and it starts throwing the content accordingly to me. So that ways, it becomes extremely easy because it is very personalized. And it is basis the user's needs, as well as, it can be stitched well in the organization for the succession planning, for the talent management, for creating the skills in the organization to meet up the future needs. And that is how the data comes across as, I would say, at the right time with the training, learning and development and HR to make the informed decisions and take it forward and showcase the value that it is bringing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very important point.
So for us, it's competency mapping happening right at the start when an employee joins in. Yeah, so there's a complete detailed competency mapping which is happening, and then the progression chart which is given, a career progression chart which is given, and then of course that competency map you're easily able to identify what are the gaps. So that's how our personalized training and the entire training calendar is set in for that person, and that's how AI helps us on throwing that right content to fill in those gaps. Yes. And continuous evolvement. Yes. But it doesn't end there. For us, it is a knitted cycle, as I said earlier, the holistic picture, so engage, equip, measure, and motivate. So, it's continuously linked with assessments on where are we on the training that has been imparted, then, keeping them motivated to continuously then further learn and grow. You've excelled this, but now you need to excel to be there on what you wanted to be. So, yeah, that's how, and AI is playing a very larger role in helping us. But yes, for us right now, it's all about digitizing the content in healthcare, because a lot of content is not yet digitized. So for us, it's the first step wherein we are digitizing this entire process, digitizing the content, and then of course the AI is going to help us stitch it in all together.
Yes, absolutely. I was just, that's a very relevant point, just getting also some practical industry insight on the challenges that you faced, because surely you've been on this journey, Dr. Yogita, since 2021, but overall, this is such a new space across HR functions. So what are some of the challenges that you're facing when it comes to really creating these personalized learning experiences?
Yeah, can I start?
Please.
The typical challenges, I would say, as she said, that adoption. That's the first thing. The second thing is, how relevant and how stimulating is the content, whatever it is throwing. See, the learner only learns when it's open and something new, the stimulation is there.
Absolutely.
And that is how the curiosity comes, and that is how you learn. Along with that, to answer your questions, in my organization, I have stopped taking, as HR, the responsibility for your career progression. It is a very clear message. We have the competency framework in place.
Yes.
We have the platforms in place. Your career, your choice, you want it vertical, diagonal, horizontal. We have the platforms available, and we will, facilitate you to achieve your career progression. So that's one, so that it is more of self-driven rather than a forced one.
Yeah.
That's one point. The second one is, when we talk about the challenges, it's not only the training content. It is, we've already covered half the journey when we talk about the content. I guess the role of a coach and a mentor will always remain important.
Yes.
The human touch.
Yes.
We can't take that away. So it has to be the combination of both to create the balance and to ensure that whatever you're learning, be it on the immersive learning, be it the, I would say, stimulating or the case scenarios, you should have a coach to be guiding you how to implement it at the end of the day on the ground.
Yes.
So that's what I feel that we've kept the balance between the two. Whilst we have the platforms, we're also ensuring that we're creating enough coaches and the mentors. There's a, proper formal mentorship program that we have in the organization to make it more holistic.
Absolutely. The human touch cannot be
It can't
mitigated
be taken
no
away.
matter
Yeah.
what. Yes.
So yeah, for us, the biggest challenge has again been the adaptability. But yeah, thanks to COVID, wherein the entire audience, entire people have graduated to the next level, and that maturity and that evolvement has come in.
Yes.
Wherein all the nurses, their kids, they were doing the classes through their smartphones. So that's how we've been able to build that adaptability. And yes, it's enhancing, but yeah, we still hardly there, about 15% to talk about
That's an
adaptability.
ongoing journey,
Yeah,
I
it's an
believe.
ongoing journey. Yeah.
So I'll give you the use case again. That will be useful to hear. So for us, when we chartered into this arena, we were as HR professionals, we really didn't know what kind of challenges we are going to face, and even the employees. So theoretically, basically employees and HR both were on the same space. We had read about AI, how is it working behind it, but then when we actually started using the product, we realized that people, because the assessments were adaptive, they were changing per person.
Yes.
And people really were fumbling with the questions, what kind of proficiency level I have right now, where am I right now currently, where am I going to reach, so that gap they were not able to assess. So some of them kind of fumbled through the assessments. When they fumbled through the assessments, the courses they got were a little bit of a mismatch.
Yes, yes.
So I think my use case said that when you apply any of it in your organization, a whole lot of sensitization sessions need to be done. The employees have to be trained on how to use the application much before they actually use it.
Yes.
So that really helps, because then those teething problems you will definitely face some, but they'll be much lesser.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Just what I can probably share is the experience that we've had at Coursera over the past 7 odd years of working with businesses such as yours, and the challenges that you spoke about, right? I think learning per se has three distinct kind of qualities that anybody looks out for, right? Can the learning content be trusted, right? Can the learning content actually drive some results? And then, is there someone to help me, right? Like you mentioned, right? Mentor. So from all of these three perspectives, I think from a trust perspective, we have content which comes from the biggest faculty and the most renowned business schools that work globally, and engineering schools such as Georgia Tech, Stanford, and so on. In India, we have IIM Ahmedabad and ISP. And then we also have a lot of industry players, right? Like a Google, Amazon, Salesforce, and so on. In India, it's about PwC, Tally, and so on, who come to the platform to help, employees or, students on the platform learn. Where does essentially the kind of effectiveness and efficiency matter is we've seen use cases where, say, an employee, this is a finance company where the employee was a salesperson when he joined in, but then he looked at an internal data role. He actually learned on the Coursera platform over the last 6 months and transitioned from a sales role to a data analytics role. And that's where the real value, like I said, point number 2 is of real value that you can actually show. And then the third, in terms of the support that one learner or an organization needs, there is a partnership that we develop with the companies that we work with, where we have a set of team members who work continuously over a 2-year, 3-year period to achieve those business outcomes, right? It can't be done in a period of 6 months. It has to be a continuous process. So if we can bring trust to the table, real value and business outcomes, along with the support that all three of you spoke about, that's what makes the whole ecosystem of learning really, really valuable and kind of tangible for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pushkar, in your experience when it comes to building those programs with trust and really engaging again the audience, what role does this technology play when it comes to, say, gamification or VR, creating completely simulated environments, again, just capturing attention and capturing the learning experience in a completely new way? So how does Gen AI and all the new technology that you're experimenting with, how does that contribute to a completely different way of learning?
And that's a great question, right? And I don't think we can say that we are there, but I think we are making some steps towards kind of getting even immersive technology onto the platform. So I'll take the AR VR question first. So we've I think recently launched about 3 courses in virtual reality.
Wow.
Where these are on introduction to public speaking. And if you see, and I what I've heard continuously across companies is communication skills, presentation skills are one of the skill areas where everybody needs enablement, right?
Yes.
So through this course, which is VR enabled, you are actually put in the front of a kind of an audience, and you are actually practicing the real skill and not just going through a video. Similarly, learning languages, right, becomes very difficult because you essentially need to speak in that language to be able to understand whether you are at a good at a certain level or not. So that's where again the VR experience comes into the picture. So what we've done as a tool is, as a platform, we've given out the VR tool to all our authors from industries and universities, and now they are developing some of the existing courses in a VR format. So essentially, the learning experience becomes much more tangible again, like you said.
Yes, absolutely.
So in healthcare, the tools are already there now.
Yes,
It's
huge use case.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So the AI simulations are there. Now, of course, we are treating people's lives. And surgical trainings. So now the surgical training AI simulation tools are there, wherein surgeons are trained to do the surgery over an AI.
Fantastic.
So but that adaptability, that getting those tools all across and making this happen and people to evolve, that's going to take some time.
What's
but then
the
tools are existing. And response is very good in the sense that Western world has already started adopting it. India also is now using it. We are exploring certain such tools in our organization to enrich that learning. So in healthcare, it's definitely making a mark.
Yes.
And gamification, again, for patient experience, to put the right experience in place, so these gamification activities, in fact, we are again, what we spoke, that we are indulged in the activities, that how we can gamify that patient experience piece and put that into the training module. So definitely it actually helps make the learning much faster and much evolved.
Yeah,
Interesting. And besides, I guess, this language conversion, it's a challenge that our organization has faced. We have, offices in the APAC regions, and then we have in Europe. What happens is that typically training at times, the English language comes as a second language in certain countries, And it becomes very difficult to communicate typically for Korea. We have operations in Korea. So in case the language is a barrier over there. So how do you train people on that? So with the help of AI, the translation is much more effective. It's faster, and you achieve the value add when you have the content available, or when you have the virtual trainings or otherwise available in that specific language. So,
and just to pick on this, right? I mean, it's a right opportunity to talk about again the second initiative through Gen AI or technology, right? We've kind of machine translated a set of about 2,000, 3,000 courses in Thai, Bahasa, and several regional Asian languages. Hindi essentially is possibly the future roadmap for us in the next 6 to 8 months. So again, with effective use of technology, we can break those barriers which are very basic in nature, but essentially very, very crucial to a learning and development program.
For India itself, you have feet on street kind of model. There are so many vernacular languages. There are so many states. So with AI, those barriers are now, those are getting broken.
Yes,
when you can reach out.
Yes. Doctor, any examples of how immersive
So
technology
I think I would give a big thumbs up to Pushkar, because no matter how communication sounds as simple as that, it's the most difficult thing to teach.
Absolutely.
So we have tried face-to-face, we have tried video learning, but I would say that this hasn't worked. And Pushkar, this sounds a very great idea to me, that even if you teach somebody to do presentations, no matter how much you teach, the moment you go right in front of the audience, you're frozen.
Freeze. Yeah.
So if you have learned it like through a VR, that's a great method to learn, because I think you've over and over gone through this so many times that you wouldn't really go and freeze right in front of the audience. Yes. So I mean, I think that's a great idea.
There you go.
Thank you. I think we should catch up later.
We should.
So, with all these factors coming together, the role of immersive technology, of course, we're here to really deep dive into Gen AI. How would you say overall this is impacting the direct employee experience and helping, say, with retention, employee satisfaction, motivation, of course, to, keep developing in their role? How do you see it impacting the employee experience, and how do you measure it? Are there any specific metrics that you use?
Yeah, so for us, we've been using NPS, the Net Promoter Score, and that's been the main tool for our measurement, because it's ultimately all about the patient experience. So yeah, that being the prime tool. Then other tools comes in, wherein we have a feedback management system, wherein continuous feedback from the patient come in, which gives the detailed analysis on what's gone wrong, what's gone right, and that helps us put the right structure again back together again. And then of course, we call it performance reflections to performance reviews mechanism. So, the performance reflection, which again becomes the major tool. And for us, it's not your immediate manager, but it's, the entire organization is mapped into the administrative and the functional and the skip level. So it's a cross rating and the 360-degree rating that happens, which actually helps bring in the right measurement in place. So
Deepti, I'm taking this idea from you here.
Please. But also, the measurability when it comes to your employee satisfaction overall, or the propensity for retention to be enhanced through your learning and development initiatives. Anything?
So the satisfaction, majorly comes from the clarity that it provides. So, I told you that, we had put in two pieces of information into this layer of AI. The first was the competency, the current competency, the roles, the unique roles that we had created. And then we had put a piece of, from A to B, how many of these are competent enough to move from, career A to career B, or in case they wish to change their job roles completely. So, if that clarity the employee also has, his interest in learning that piece is enhanced.
Yes.
And hence, once he's learned, he's moved from one place to the other, automatically his, satisfaction level is sky high.
Yes. Smriti, do you see that employee engagement and satisfaction, as Dr. Singh, being enhanced through all these new initiatives in L&D?
Absolutely. I strongly feel that for any employee, the person will stay in the organization if his top 3 priorities are met.
Yes.
Of course, we can rearrange the order, but it is primarily you enjoy what you're doing. you have work-life balance and you're getting enough mullah, as per your capability. And one most important factor is that, is my day-to-day work or is my job giving me the opportunity to learn something?
Yes.
Otherwise,
Yes.
it becomes very, very monotonous.
Yes.
So
Yes.
these are the three aspects primarily which play an important role in the retention of an employee.
Yes.
So yes, it's very, very important. And when we look at the engagement holistically, it's a very holistic piece. It is about the culture, and training, learning, and development is a part of the culture.
Absolutely.
In the organization, when I look at it for my organization, Deneve, we have great place to work at certification. So we've had that 3 years continuously in a row. And for that, there's a sizable, I would say, portion of it which speaks about training, learning, and development opportunities in the organization. That is one. The second part is that when we take it forward with the AI generative tools, it helps the HR to actually go back and, cater to the needs and asks of the employees in a much faster manner, as compared to that now I have to create content, I have to look at this and then take it forward. Yeah. So it is much faster. And the platform itself is interesting, wherein you get the immediate feedback on the courseware. You get the immediate feedback with respect to whether it was interesting. As far as mapping and evaluating the actual value to business is concerned, in my organization, it's a three-way partnership that we call. So first investment is by the employee himself. Second investment is by the manager in the career progression for his people. And the third investment comes from HRD. Yes. So it's a three-way partnership model that we follow, that we have to work closely to ensure that employees not only engaged, the employee is also learning, and there's career progression, and each one of us is invested in that for the employee. So that's the way we take it forward.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Really in-depth. Yes, Dipali, please.
Yeah. So for us, just one more adding on to the thing. For us, there's no HR existing in our organization, and the very basic, we call it people development office. Yeah. So it's, for us, it's all about the development and the growth of the person. Yes. So definitely it actually helps putting, it's a human behavior. All what they're wanting is to continuously evolve. Yes. And that evolvement is happening through continuous learning in the organization. Definitely it works as a good motivation tool, good retention tool, and it just takes it on all across. Yes. So this forms the very basic. Yeah.
So well said.
If I can just add one point, right, while you all mentioned about, what it means to the employee in terms of their own growth. Yes. And progress. But I think, being a part of an ecosystem which is doing some kind of transformation or change, right? So, what we see is, am I involved in what the organization is trying to do at a much larger level? And that's
Absolutely.
where, a couple of examples that come to our mind are, companies such as, PwC are undergoing a digital transformation. Yeah. And they've actually, built digital labs as one of the in-house capabilities. And that's where, employees, about 30,500 employees, train on the Coursera platform. Yeah. And they've actually gone and created about 600 odd assets related to their work. So it's not just that I'm learning for myself, but I'm contributing to the larger organization.
Fantastic.
So that makes me much more inclusive and, makes me a part of the organization, and I feel valued about it, right? Fantastic. So again, another facet towards learning and development is, am I included in the system? Am I part of the organization?
Yeah. Part of the journey. And plus, the as you rightly said, that the communication skills is an important element in any of the organization. If I talk about my organization, it's the project management, analytical skills, and of course, communication and presentation. This will be there, available, and this has to be the basic criteria for each and every employee, irrespective of hierarchies. And as you gave the example, it definitely helps that you scale people from one level, you take them to the next level, and that is how you keep building the existing skill set. And plus, you completely focused on what is new that is required in the organization. Mine is a management consulting firm. So we're more with respect to partners, that what my partners, my clients, what is it that they are dwelling into? Yeah. So I have to be absolutely ready to create the sales solutions for them. Yeah. So that's the way it definitely helps, to have the AI generative. Yeah.
I think, use the word freshness. It's the most difficult thing to retain a young talent. and the way it understands you as a person, your liking, your methods of learning, the way it is throwing up content in the modes it's throwing up the content. It's exciting for a young mind to absorb.
Yes.
And hence, when the young talent sees that the organization is invested in you, they stay.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, for us, again, what Pushkar said, that each and every individual is superb important in the organization, and that alignment, that, how you are important, and that communication, that yes, your role is one of the major roles that is creating the impact, and that stands valid for all individuals across the organization. So yes, that interactive is again very helpful in the Gen AI space only, that putting in, making them feel that yes, they are also contributing towards this entire impact.
Absolutely.
Just to add a little humor to it, if you talk about the young generation, whilst they need the validation and immediate gratification, they already know that they are adding value. They already cognizant, and they ensure that they remind you and they tell you every day.
So right.
Some very real industry experience coming through. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. It's been such a great, insightful panel on how really Gen AI is impacting every step of the learning process. On a closing note, if you could share a little bit about how, with each organization investing so much into L&D, clearly, I mean, you've been on the journey, some of you, for years already. Surely this also becomes a boardroom discussion. And when that happens, how do you kind of put business metrics to the success of the programs that you have in place? Just on a closing note, if you could share some insights. Dipali, you already touched upon this, so maybe you could.
So as I mentioned, that, for us, we have put in a structure that in the entire year, because again, for us, it's a continuous evolvement. So for us, we have put in a structure that, under each program, under each person, these are the minimum training hours that are needed into the system. And these are the training hours, and these are the trainings that you would have to undergo no matter what in the entire year. But we have, again, to generate that self-initiative, we have linked it with multiple factors, wherein, and performance appraisal increment also happening linked to that training hours. Once you have done that, extra 5% increment comes in once you have achieved that, and of course, it's again return on investment. Once you're trained, once you've evolved, it's actually helping us build our better patient experience and better clinical procedures. So, so definitely it's directly linked with the business impact. Our performance scorecard is again worked in such a way that training hours has a certain increment weightage. NPS, the Net Promoter Score, which is directly linked with the training. If you're trained well, if you know how to work out with the patients, how to work, the related procedures and everything, automatically the Net Promoter Score will go high. So there's a weightage to the Net Promoter Score. There's a weightage to the financial impact, which is directly linked with the development.
Wow.
So, so that's how we have created with the business impact. And yes, very much board driven, because it has to be driven by the board to make it effective in the organization.
Absolutely.
So,
yes. Thank you.
So I guess we've gone a little ahead in, imbibing all of these, the impact into the KPIs. So for me, we are, I would say that we are a sales-driven organization. So half of my population is sales. So for whatever they've learned from the, platforms, it is target versus achievement metrics very clearly.
Yeah.
And for the manufacturing units also, I think we've been able to figure out, the quality, the productivity, the quality of, the task, and the quality of the task. And then, these metrics have been built in within the KPIs of the individuals. So there is no running away from the impact. You need to have that outcome from that learning.
Yes.
So we were having a very intriguing discussion yesterday itself in our office that the AI is here to stay. So now the challenge with the HR professional is how do we build the strategy around it's ChatGPT is just $20 per month. So but then the point is that who do you give it to?
Yeah.
What do you give it for?
Yeah.
And then the outcome has to be very, very clear. because those guys cannot be, putting in your data right up front, on that platform.
Yeah.
So the strategy, now the challenge is to kind of build a strategy by the HR professionals.
Yes,
So that's very
absolutely.
critical.
Interesting. Smriti?
Okay. So for my organization, we have a combination. So there's self-learning and there are certain programs, flagship programs that we've put in place. So one of such is a fast-track career progression.
Okay.
So wherein it is, we train people, and after that, yes, of course, there's a dashboard, there's a scorecard. We go back to the management and reflect that, how many of them have actually progressed to the next level. And that is again a need that had come from business. We were having a little weaker managerial layer. So we were losing managers, in attrition, and there was a need because the projects and the programs come over, and then you need people to step up, to move and take up the charge for those next programs and projects. That is how we created a fast-track career progression plan and the training program as well. Besides that, when I look at it, regarding the chat GPT, as you rightly said, that people don't even know how to utilize it. At HR, if you say that we are absolutely on top of it, how to utilize, how to leverage it, we're not. We're still in the process of learning. And once we learn, only then we can enable the organization. And so that's the first step that we are taking, that whilst we utilize it, first we have to enable ourselves that we utilize it to the business value. And plus, it has to be productive. It can't be, as I was just talking, that data is available everywhere. The expertise lies in, taking that data and creating something meaningful and productive and of value to the business. So that is what we are learning. And otherwise, there are programs available in the organization which are parallelly running. For all the flagship programs, we have the scorecards and we go back and we showcase the value that it has brought on the table. Initially, there were a lot of questions, and the success I feel is because the questions have decreased and the investments have become more.
Fantastic.
So that itself is an indication that we are on the right track.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Pushkar, why don't you tie this all in together for us?
And I think, these are great, organizational, business outcomes that you're looking at. And I'll just share one, very unique example of a company. And it's a clear-cut boardroom goal of reaching $1 billion revenue, right? So this IT services company said, we want to reach $1 billion in revenue in the next couple of years. How do we do it? So essentially, being an IT services company, they felt the emerging technology skills are what essentially they sell off their employees to their customers, right? So they looked at Coursera, as a very, principal partner to kind of build these emerging tech skills through the, content which comes from a Google, an Amazon, or a Salesforce, and so on, and a lot of specialization which comes from, so INSEAD has a blockchain specialization, and several other, University of Michigan and otherwise, right? So that's where they used us as a partner for building those emerging tech skills with an eye on the boardroom goal of building that revenue target, right? So that's essentially from a very holistic and top down kind of approach. We see that happening on the ground and it's getting translated.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. It's been such a great conversation on how Gen AI is really impacting the L&D experience. And once again, we're here with industry experts who have shared your very real and personal experiences. So thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for
it was a pleasure to be here and listen to the thoughts from everybody.
Yes,
a lot of key takeaways, I would say.
And again, pleasure to be on a women panel. So
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.